Welcome to our breakout session, Digital Value Stream Management 4.0. My name is Elise Schuffert. I'm a project leader and consultant for digital value stream analysis and use case implementation at Bosch, and very proud to be here with Professor Metternich today from the Technical University of Darmstadt, who initially invented the method. Welcome, Professor Metternich.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation, and it's great to be here with you. And maybe let me say some words about what we do at my institute. I have an industrial background with companies like Trumpf, Bosch and Knorr-Bremse, and I was always dealing with lean in my professional time. And now, of course, the big challenge is how do we lift lean and how do we improve lean with the digital tools? And there are many opportunities in shop floor management, for example, but also in the value stream management. And that's what we talk about today.
Brilliant. So let's unleash our digital potential and have a look at what is new about Value Stream Management 4.0. So what used to be interesting in the past was classical recording of the material flow and the process KPIs that lie behind. We wanted to identify waste, we wanted to record our process KPIs in a visual way, and this is where we're coming from. Now we want to add a new digital dimension, as what you can see to the right, in understanding the IT landscape, understanding the data points that lie behind the process information. To visualize the data stream of my material flow, this is what we want to discuss about today.
Yeah, and you might ask yourself, why did we develop this method? And most of you know probably the method that was developed by Schuck and Rother, which is called learning to see. And that's the classical value stream method, which is today the standard in our industry. Many companies use this. But we felt, when we looked at the rising availability of data and information, that this is not enough for the digital age. Because in this classical value stream analysis and design method, we look at information just from the perspective of production control, of controlling the material flows. And that's not enough. And we added three more perspectives to the value stream management and analysis 4.0. And this is first the idea of waste in handling information. And we have, as we have classical wastes, we also have wastes as we handle information in our value streams. Secondly, we have a perspective on how we use information for the improvement of our own processes. And in many cases, we don't make best use of the information we have to improve our own processes. And the third point is, what can we do to make the best use of our information handling in our value streams to support customer value, to add value to the product from the customer perspective, for example, in terms of services that we would bring with the product to the customer.
Now let's stick to this digital waste dimension that we identified. So as we all know, data is the new oil and therefore gold. But what kind of waste products do I get during my refinery process in turning data to gold? These waste products we identified as new types of digital waste. Somebody may ring a bell out of lean management where we are talking about Muda. Now we want to identify the digital waste. So is data stored in the right storage medium? How and where is data transferred? Who is working with the data? Is it available at the right time to the right person in the right system? And is it analyzed? Do we make use out of this data? So coming from data selection over to data quality, data transmission, data storage, there are new types of digital waste.
Exactly, and you see again, this is classical lean what we do, but we transfer classical lean thinking to information handling as well. And you know, we have the 7+1 kinds of Muda, and now we have here 8 kinds of wastes in dealing with information. A simple example, it would be waste in handling information if we just take data and write them down on a sheet of paper, and then we take this sheet of paper and type this, use a keyboard and bring this into a database. That would be a waste of transferring data.
Definitely, and manually recorded data is always very likely for human failure in data recording, so definitely a type of waste.
Yeah.
Okay, coming to a very concrete example in the area of data selection, picking a visual inspecting process out of injection equipment where an operator is only checking for binary data values, such as okay, not okay, instead of recording important quality parameters during his visual inspection process, which is added value to the process, and we want to optimize this data.
Well, this is a huge waste if we don't use the information we have at hand to improve our processes. And at many test benches, at test rigs where we test the products, we see that they just classify good or bad. And that's what do you learn? If you have good or bad, maybe you see that you have a rejection rate which is higher than 5%. But we want to learn about our process to improve it later on. So this is again classical lean thinking. How can we make the best use of the information we get to learn from that and to improve then the process?
Good. So let's have a look at what are our detailed process steps in getting to the digital value stream mapping. Coming to the next slide, we have in sum 6 steps that we need for digital value stream mapping. At first, we want to go for classical value stream mapping, and second, which is the new dimension, is to define the storage media in the process. So typically, information is stored in an enterprise resource planning system. We have data and information stored in an MES system, but also human beings are an important storage medium for information, right? You can imagine what an operator really knows and how many shadow Excel lists are in place at different production lines that are storing important information that we need for process control, maybe. So, opening up a dimension in drawing underneath a classical value stream map, what are the storage mediums? Where do I store my information points? Map the storage media and also map the data usage. Data usage can be in the area of shop floor management. We can use data for analytic purposes. These are different kinds where we can use data, and let's map not only the storage medium but also the data usage. This is our step number 2. Coming to step number 3, we want to analyze the process information. How is my information running? Is it running upstream or downstream? Let's pick up the example that we can see here on the right in a grinding process. I have maybe a setup time of a machine. This setup time is stored in an ERP system, but maybe also written by the operator in a shadow Excel list that he's used to give further to his boss after he's finishing in his manufacturing process. So this is data that we want to collect, and the detailed description of this data, which is maybe the recording interval, recording type, measurement values that lie behind, all these data spots we want to really draw out in our digital value stream mapping.
Yeah, you have the classical process boxes as you are used to have them from the classical value stream method from Schuck and Rother. And what we do here is we look at the information that is needed by a process box, by a process to function well, to do the job well, and the data that are produced by this process. And both we look at what goes in and what comes out and how this is connected to our storage media. And if we have that picture, then we can start with the analysis of improvement potential, with the analysis of the wastes that we have just seen.
And also identify the right pilots, the right
Exactly.
use cases. If we want to go for digitalization, as everybody wants to go today,
And
it's so hard to pick the right starting point,
exactly.
right?
And I always use the idea of having like a plug, like a data plug that we put into the process box from the downside and then read out the data that we get from the process.
Mm-hmm. Good. So, 4th step then is to analyze the data. So connect the captured KPIs from our classical value stream mapping with dashed lines to the systems in which they are used. Connect that, as you can see, the dotted points down there, and really see how you use your own information. And in the end, in having done that, you can derive important information such as digital Kaizen. So what is a digital Kaizen? A digital Kaizen is a data point that we are not making use of. A digital Kaizen can be, for example, my example earlier, a setup time that we are not recording that can be used later for continuous improvement monitoring, for example.
And this gives you a very good idea where you have wastes, for example, in transferring information. If you have in a vertical line 2 black dots that hit a horizontal line, another horizontal line, then you see that there is waste of transferring information to different storage media. So it helps you, if you see many dots, if you see many, the accumulation of many exchange points, then you see there is potential for improvement. Either reduce the dots in vertical lines by just transferring information to one system, or to reduce, if you look at the horizontal lines, to reduce the number of storage media. So we keep the same information always in the same storage medium, like overall equipment effectiveness. You keep it only in one medium and not in 3 different media. And then you have the access, very simple access to those data to further improve. And we need to pool the data in a unified system to make best use of it to improve our systems. If it's distributed in different systems, it's very difficult.
And also therefore increase data usage by making use of this information in one single system.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's have a look at how classical value stream management has been looking before. What you can see here is the old dimension of value stream mapping. We see here different processes, grinding, assembly, and dispatch. By adding a whole new digital dimension to classical value stream management in the area of storage medium and data usage, we get important knowledge about our process. We see by digital Kaizen where we have deviations in data management. For example, information is not up to date in an ERP system, or the component identification is not coupled with manufacturing information. With this new digital dimension, we have really a very good and holistic overview of all the data points in our value stream. Let's pick a very operative example in the next slide that we made use of as Bosch. So coming from a project in earlier times before the pandemic, 6 Bosch employees analyzed an SMT manufacturing line, what you can see here in the images before and after to the right. What is very significant here, as you can see in the green boxes, we could increase data usage for quality management, which is the last line. You see here more data points because we could increase data usage here. And in the image before, you see a lot of data points in the first column, which is paper. So reduce waste because data we don't want to have on paper, and increase data usage in systems that we want to have in future. So in sum, 25% reduced data points and 22% more data usage to enable also fast business decisions in the area of data analytics, for example. To put it in a nutshell, let's have a little summary of our accent here. So background and goals of our method. We want to create transparency about data structure and the data stream in our value stream. We want to visualize what are our digital Kaizens. This is available at Bosch Industry Consulting and was initially developed by the Technical University of Darmstadt. What kind of hardware do you need? Well, classical go-to Gemba. Go down to the shop floor, take your template in classical value stream mapping, add a new digital dimension to it, and also calculate a digitalization rate in the end in mapping the different data points. The method behind is drawing in the swim lanes for storage media, analyzing the information flow behind, and in the end identify the digital waste. There are important lessons learned behind the method, right? So our lessons learned that we had in the operative usage is we really need to talk to the right people. So talking only to IT requirement and manufacturing IT in analyzing your value stream will not bring you any farther. Shop floor will show you the truth. The operators on the shop floor will show you where do they really handle information.
Yeah, and of course the question is, what's the next step? If you now address the classical wastes and the digital wastes, and you prioritize and you start project work to improve. Of course, it brings you somewhere. Maybe the level of waste goes down in dealing information. Maybe you reduce the number of storage media and you streamline your information flows and you interconnect the material flow with the information flow. Then, of course, you made some step ahead. Well, that's basically also a big step here, that we have the right information at the right place available at the right time. And that's, of course, our goal. But the idea is that, of course, we want to design lean digital value streams. And for that, we are just working on a new method, Value Stream Design 4.0. And I can already say that this method is very much connected to the business model that a company has. So from the business model, we directly derive all the needs for handling information in our value stream. And from that, we then can shape a value stream that supports best through digitization and the right handling of information, your business model. And maybe let me make a last statement. We need to look at not only at material and information flows, we need to look at production and especially customer orders. The customer is not so much interested how long a material takes to run through our value stream. The customer is interested when he places an order or she places an order to get this order fulfilled. So we need to look at the complete order fulfillment process, not just the material and information flow. So we need to start with specific customer orders. And in the past, we had this usually on a different brown paper. On the one paper, we had the value stream analysis. On the other paper, we had an analysis of how a specific order flows through the complete organization. And this is the combination of both.
Nice. So we are open for questions now. Thank you for listening, and let's put the questions in the chat and have an active discussions how we can unleash digital potential by making use of this new method. Let's pick a first question from what we have here. So, I work in a very large company. What is my benefit of analyzing one very small use case? Well, analyzing one very small use case can lead you up to scaling, right? If I really know what my process deviation in a specific process is, if I identified my use case, and I start with classical value stream mapping, going further in the dimension of digital value stream mapping, coming up with a digital use case in the end. Do I really find it as not being worth to scale it, or how do I handle it?
Well, I wouldn't start just analyzing every small use case. I would start with the analysis of the value stream, first classical, then our value stream method 4.0. And then I would start with a significant case and use this as a light tower and work on this specific case and learn from that for my value stream and for the whole team. And from that learning, I would then start my journey. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm. Could be. Let's see what we also get in. Let's pick another one. How long does it take to install lean processes and how long to digitalize? Well, the journey of installing lean processes and really establishing lean thinking in value stream management is typically a long one, right? It goes along with also a culture change and really getting to know what lies behind lean. How to digitalize, this is exactly a tool that we wanted to introduce here. So coming from the lean perspective, coming from the lean perspective, adding the digital perspective, we want to know how we can really increase our digital potential. So establishing lean processes and then going further to digitalize them, this is what we as Bosch and also University of Darmstadt is as a basis. So coming from a classical I4.0 pyramid, as you know, we have to have stable and connected processes. Then we can go over to analyze them. Then we can go over and make use of the information behind by automating process connection. And this is what we learn, right? So lean is definitely our basis. We have to have stable processes. I always pick the example of RFID. For example, if I have an RFID process in a digital way, I definitely need to start with a stable, normal logistic Kanban process. What can my operator do with RFID if he doesn't know the methodology behind how his material is running and how the material flow was before? So he has to have a clear image of how can digitalization help me where I stop with lean.
Yeah, data analysis only helps you if you have a target state to compare the current situation against target, and that target state comes from standardization. And standardization is what classical lean usually delivers to you. It gives you a process standard, that's the normal performance of a process, and then we collect data and we can compare current process performance against the target performance. And then we have deviations maybe. And
we don't want to digitalize the waste, right? So we first have to clean up our process, clean it by doing lean management, clean it by 5S, clean it by different lean tools that we are using, and then in the end add the digital dimension, not digitalizing the waste, but digitalizing only the true information. Do we have more questions?
No more questions?
No more questions. Let's give it a little more time. All right. So I would say let's close up with a little outcome on what would be value stream design 4.0. You said that there is a book being written right now that's going to be released in January with the dimension of value stream design, what lies behind.
Yeah, in this book we will describe the classical method of, well, this method that we just discussed, value stream analysis 4.0, and then how you then make the next step to design your vision of a lean digital value stream. And as I already said, it will come from the business model. First, we promote that you start to understand your business model, and then you systematically interconnect all the requirements that come from that business model with the information design in your value streams. And that will be very interesting, I hope.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Metternich.
It's a pleasure.
We had some new questions coming in. So, how do you approach the value stream mapping in a greenfield setting? Interesting question. Well, in a greenfield setting, typically I have the chance for value stream design, right? So here I could start in a design phase, making optimal use of data by steering my data right from the planning process to be in a right way.
Yeah, well, typically in a greenfield design, there's of course nothing to analyze at the moment, but of course you have usually you have a production process that is already designed. Your process planners have machines and have already planned a process to manufacture, to machine, and then to assemble products. And of course, that is then design thinking. But if you do that, of course, think of the shortest way how material will flow through your factory. Think of the shortest way how to interconnect, for example, your product development with your manufacturing department who prepare then the order, and with then the manufacturing themselves. And we have had a project with a German pump manufacturer, and we shaped this, the production of a bottom plate for such a chemical pump, that way that from former a throughput time of 6 days, we had just 30 minutes for that plate till the plate was on the machine and it could be machined and delivered to the customer. And that is if you can interconnect the customer with your application engineering and with your production department, And that is the power of this value stream design approach. Think of the shortest possible way how you can fulfill a customer order, and you will have a complete new look at the things. I hope this answers your question a bit. Well, we have another question here. Do you see artificial intelligence for value stream mapping creation? Good question. We have already thought of this. There are some ideas. What I can say is that we use data analytics so far. What we do is we take data that we get from the ERP and MES system, and we map these data and connect the different stations in our value stream with the data we get from the ERP system. With this analytic approach, we then get a complete overview of the real material flows through the factory, and that really supports the classical value stream analysis, because sometimes if you do that, you will find material flows that you would have never expected, but the system tells you. So yes, there is some support by AI when you create value streams in the future.
But as of today, I would know no tool in artificial intelligence that's able from a single source to really create such a value stream.
No, but there are tools, there are really tools available today to do this analytics, to really analyze the data from the ERP system, and it gives you then an undoubtedly right picture of real material flows. When we do just value stream mapping and we walk the value stream, you just get a snapshot. But with that analysis, you really get the true picture.
Yeah, the gold behind. Another question coming in. If you analyze the information flow, isn't it interesting how the customer is ordering the products and how the purchase information is saved?
Oh, thank you, Herr Riedel. May I answer this? This is now a great discussion. Thanks for these questions. Of course, this is interesting. And our idea is, and probably also your idea, to connect the customer closer with the front end of our value stream. So why do we have so much communication with our sales department or our sales engineers with the customer? It takes quite a long time, and then you have maybe even failures in that system. So take the customer in and make him the co-developer of the product. And then you have the real list of customer requirements, and then if you then convert this into a CNC program, because you have just a system that to convert customer requirements into CNC programs without specifically program this, then you are really fast. So we have ways of connecting the customers closer to our value stream, and that gives us speed, because in the front end usually we lose a lot of time.
Okay, I think we have to now, unfortunately, close the first breakout session to get into the second. You have a little bit time left to decide for another breakout session, and we some time left to prepare for the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to our breakout session of Digital Value Stream Management 4.0. And I'm Elise Schuffert, a consultant for Industry 4.0 implementation, digital value stream management and use case definition. Very proud to stand here today with Professor Metternich from the Technical University of Darmstadt, who initially invented this method. Welcome, Professor Metternich.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the invitation. It's great to be here with you. And some words about my person. My field of research is production management, and I bring into this research my experience from industry. I've been working for companies like Trumpf Werkzeugmaschinen. I've been working for Bosch as a production manager, and I've been working for Knorr-Bremse in Munich, and I was there responsible for the worldwide production management system.
Thanks for being here today. So let's unleash our digital potential. Oh, that's the wrong slide, unfortunately. We need the first one. Just a second. This one? That one? Ah, okay, perfect. Now, yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so let's unleash our digital potential by defining the goals. What was the goal in earlier times in classical value stream management, and what's the goal in new times in digital value stream management? It used to be interesting analyzing material flow, capturing process data, capturing process KPIs in classical value stream mapping, identifying the waste that lies behind, and my process weaknesses. What's interesting today is that we added a new digital dimension to material flow, adding the data stream that lies behind. So analyzing the IT landscape behind, what is my storage media, where do I store the information of the processes, how does my data stream look like, and how can I identify digital waste?
Yeah, and you might ask yourself, why did we develop this method? And you might know that it's today the gold standard in industry, this method, value stream mapping and design, and it's coming from Rother and Schuck, and they wrote this groundbreaking book, Learn to See. And well, I love this, and I still have this in my bookshelf. But we felt they dealt with information not from the right perspective, from a very narrow perspective, and this perspective is just production planning. So they look at information, how is information helping to plan the material flows, which is good, but that's not enough for today, for the data availability that we have in today's processes, and we added 3 new perspectives. And the first perspective is the perspective that we also have waste in dealing with information, like transferring information from a sheet of paper into a computer system. Secondly, we don't make in many areas the right use of available information to improve our own processes. For example, in our shop floor management meeting in the morning, we usually don't make the best use of data which are available. And the third point is that we should support with the information we have at hand in our value stream, our services that we offer to the customer. So we have a service bundle that we maybe deliver with the product to the customer to improve our competitive situation. And these 3 dimensions we added to the to the classical approach.
Mm-hmm. Coming to the new gold standard, as we know, data is the new oil and oil is gold. But what kind of waste products do I get during my refinery process in turning data to gold? These waste products we identified as the new types of digital waste. Somebody might ring a bell in terms of waste management. We learned it as MUDA from lean management. Now we have digital waste. So is data recorded in the right way? Is it processed in the right way? Is it recorded manually or automatically? If it's done manually, it's more likely for human mistakes than in an automatical way. Is data processed directly, or is there any media breakage in communicating systems with each other? So these are all the new types of digital waste that can be identified by digital value stream mapping.
Yeah, we look at waste from a logistic perspective. What we want here is that we have the right information at the right place, in the right quality, at the right time, and also in the right system available. If this is not the case, you are looking for information, you're searching for information, you're waiting for information, you have wrong information, then we have waste. And this is an add-on to the classical waste muda that we have, that the 7+1 wastes that we know from the classical lean approach.
Let's make it more concrete and come to the area of data selection. Let's pick a visual inspection process that I may have. In this visual inspection process, I'm only checking binary values, like is this product okay, not okay, not taking in mind that there are important quality parameters, product quality parameters that I can also use for continuous monitoring of my product quality. So this is data that would add value to my process. I need to optimize instead of other data that is not added value to my process, which cannot be used for process control, which cannot be used for data analytics. And this data I want to eliminate. So always looking for the data purpose and the data usage and eliminate the rest of the data that you don't need.
Yeah, that's a pretty good example. Looking at my professional time in industry, I analyzed sometimes the behavior at test benches. And what I could see and observe was that people were just distinguishing products and classifying good or bad.
All the time.
Yes. And the question is, of course, what do I learn from that? Except from, well, I have waste or I have scrap rate. We miss a chance here. And the chance is that we use information about the product that we just tested to improve the process that delivered this product to us. And this is also something that you would immediately see if you apply this method here.
And this is digital waste. Going to the next one, we want to get more into detail what are the steps behind in trying to record such a digital value stream mapping. And we will start by the classical value stream mapping. If I have my classical process boxes as I know them from lean management, I can continue with the digital perspective. At first, I want to know what are my storage media behind. So common storage media in my manufacturing process is my enterprise resource planning system, is a manufacturing execution system, but is also paper, Excel most of all. It can be Kanban cards, and it can also be human beings who are important data storagers, let's say, because they are also dealing with information that we may not make use of. So we want to map all the storage media at first, which is our step number 2. And in the next dimension, we want to analyze the process information that lies behind. So determine which information is collected in the process, in which direction is the information flowing. Is it flowing upstream or downstream? Is this data point, is this piece of information useful to the downstream process, for example, or not? If not, eliminate it. If yes, it adds value and you can go for analysis. Coming to data usage, what you can see in the image down here on the left is still our process box. We captured our process KPIs and now we want to know how we use them. So we go on with dashed lines to the systems in which they are in use. Here we have a grinding process. The setup time, for example, is recorded on paper, but also in an ERP system, but maybe not used for shop floor management later on. Maybe operator could use this important KPI for daily operation. So really analyzing step by step, where is the information stored, how is it used, and how can I make use of it in the downstream process?
We just think of the classical process box that we know from the classical value stream analysis method and think of all the information a process that needs to do good work and all the data that this process that produces that is needed by the downstream or by other processes like quality or production planning. And then we look at the interconnection, the connection points, how these KPIs, how these information are connected to our information carriers, to our information system, storage media. And then we can see if there are many points where we connect these information flows, maybe even to different storage media, then we can immediately see waste. because we transfer it to different media and we keep the same information in different media. And that is, of course, that's waste. It doesn't make sense. And you can simply think of this method like creating a data plug that we plug from the downside into our process boxes to transfer data into this process box and to read it out and then transfer it to the right place where we need this information.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. In the end, we also have the possibility to identify digital kaizens, right? So if we have a look at our digital value stream mapping in the end, we exactly see where are our bottlenecks, what is the right starting point in my whole value stream, maybe for a digital pilot, processes that have a lot of data points with lacking interconnection between them. They are a very good starting point for first digital pilots, for first use case implementations. So to sum it all up a little bit, we have here our old dimension in value stream mapping. You see our classical boxes here, a grinding process, an assembly process, a dispatch process, and we added a completely new digital dimension to this classical value stream mapping. Just a second here. And this completely new digital dimension really helps us to identify my waste behind. So first, map the storage media that lies underneath, go one step forward and map the data usage that lies underneath. And digital kaizens we could identify in this exemplary process are, for example, a shadow list for quality inspection, or an information point is not up to date in an ERP system because it's collected on paper by the employee. Another digital kaizen may be that a component identification is not coupled with manufacturing information. So these are all important knowledge and data points that we want to know for process improvement. We brought another practical example with us. In earlier times before the pandemic, we carried out digital value stream analysis at a customer in China, a Bosch team of 6 employees with a duration of 1 month. We were able to completely analyze this SMT manufacturing process. And as you can see to the right, we have the value stream before and after this digital conduction. We have way more, we have an increased data usage, what you can see from the last bottom line here. So last line in the after image is quality management. We could increase data usage for quality purposes by making use of this data. And in the first row, you see how much data was recorded on paper. And this we could really reduce by 25% in data points. So reducing paperwork, working with the right systems in place and getting to connect the different processes with each other. So in total, 22% more data used to enable fast decisions, also in the area of data analytics, and an overall increased 7% digitalization rate.
Yeah, and the rule is simply, if you look at this picture, to have as many of these small black dots as necessary and as little as possible.
As little as possible, and that's the main clue behind it.
So you just sort out as if you would do 5S. And if you sort out those little tiny black buttons, points, then you can also sort out your storage media in the end. And you would really reduce the number of storage media to the absolute necessary minimum. And then you can streamline the information flows throughout your complete value stream. And for example, you would keep the OEE indicator, not in 3 different systems, but you would keep it in just one system. And then the improvement process is much easier. Analytics, data analytics, always starts with the right media that you pool in one system. And if you have it distributed in many systems, that's not helpful, simply. So that's the idea here, to reduce those points.
Coming to an end, to put it all in a nutshell, we want to give you a short overview of this new method. Background and goals. So, digital value stream mapping, value stream analysis 4.0 is helping you to create transparency about the data structure in the value stream. It creates a data streamline and identifies digital waste in the process. It's available at Bosch Industry Consulting and was initially developed by the Technical University of Darmstadt, who is now even looking for value stream design 4.0 as an enhancement of the mapping. What kind of hardware do you need to do this? Well, it's classical go to Gemba, go on the shop floor, do your classical value stream mapping, add a digital dimension to it by marking the storage media and mapping also the data usage behind. Lessons learned from Bosch perspective is definitely that you have to talk to the right people on the shop floor. Don't start by talking to IT department or manufacturing IT if you want to do a value stream analysis 4.0. Stick down to earth, go to the line, manufacturing line, talk to the operators. They will tell you the truth about information management. Otherwise, you won't detect all those shadow Excel files or paper-based information flows.
Yeah, and as you said, the journey goes on. We are just about to develop the value stream design 4.0 method. Because if you now create a list of Kaizens, classical Kaizens to improve information flows, then you prioritize and you start with project work to improve certain areas of your value stream. But of course, this is not the idea of a complete new design. We want to create a vision of our future value stream. And for that, we want also a method to support you to develop this method. And I can say so much here. This method tries to systematically involve your business model. So we analyze first the business model in this method, and then we interconnect every information requirement from your business model with the part in our value stream that creates this information or needs this information. And then we shape this value stream to support best your business model through a lean digital value stream. That's the idea. And maybe I can add this here. You need to think in the future not only in the material flows and in the information flows that control this material flow. We need to think in order fulfillment processes, because in the past we just looked at the first piece that we took out of the shelf, and then we followed this part till we dispatched it to the customer, and then we had a throughput time calculation. But that's not the order view of our customers. That's not what the customer experiences. The customer experiences the time when he or she places an order and they get then the order fulfilled. And that's what we did in the past. We had two methods. We had the classical value stream analysis, and then we tracked a complete order fulfillment process on another brown paper. Sorry, I just leave the screen here. And what we do here is we combine both in the new method. So you have it on a big picture.
Good. We're open up for questions. Let's wait a few more seconds till the first questions drop in. No questions yet.
So please, let's discuss.
Yeah, be open.
Well, maybe I start with a question that we got from the last discussion, which might be interesting for you if we answer this here and you think of your own questions in the meanwhile. So one of your colleagues asked us, isn't it interesting how the customer is ordering the products in the future and how purchase information is saved? And that was an interesting question because we made an analysis and checked also for a hydraulic product how much time we lose between the point in time when the customer orders and we start production. And we found out that only 4% of the whole time was spent by the product in production. The rest was communication with the customer, the rest was clarification of the customer needs, was purchasing of the right parts, and then dispatching the part to the customer. And so what we think is there's a lot of power if you are able to connect your customer closer to your value stream. to get faster customer specification, to make sure that the customer specification meets the capabilities of your value stream, because then you don't have much order preparation or manufacturing preparation efforts. And sometimes you can even automate the production preparation activities. In one project, we were able to completely take out the preparation of production, because we didn't have the CNC programming anywhere, because we immediately translated the customer specs into a CNC program. That was a great experience, and it collapsed the throughput time by 6 days.
Without any additional preparation
exactly.
between.
Yeah. So there are questions now.
What are the biggest challenges you faced in your projects? Any 3 effective tips? Well, a major challenge, I would say, in operatively working with digital value stream management is the abundance of data, right? So I can collect everything and make a huge analysis at each working station, which data is really processed here. Taking in mind that we have to monitor only data points that are common and existing in a lot of processes. This makes a lot of sense, because then we have the streamline view. So trying to find out at first which are data points that I find in a lot of processes, which are data points that are worth for driving data analytics behind, and retrieving them and searching for them in the storage media to have in the end the streamline view. That is a very important hint from my side.
Yeah, and we made the experience in projects that we had clients, they came to us and said, please deliver to us a value stream analysis 4.0. We said, fine, we can do that, but do you already have a lean system in place? Yes, we are lean, we have a lean value stream. And then we started with the method, and we found out, wow, there were many standards missing. It was not clear which data were available where and in which format they should be available. So what we found out is that it's very critical to first have standards and first have a lean approach in place. Stabilization and standardization is very important before we start with this utilization of data, because if you don't have a standard process which delivers to you a standard performance, then how would you then measure the current performance against the standard performance if the standard is not clear? So then the data also don't help you to analyze further and to improve. So the message is here, first get your lean system right to a certain level, and then start the next level with the digitization of the process.
Because digitalized waste is still waste. Clean up your lean process. Clean up your processes first with all the tools that you have from the lean management toolbox. May it be 5S, learn how to see, any other tools. Really clean up your process so you have trustful data. Trustful data handling is always an important question in the area of digitalization. We're dealing with a lot of data, we're analyzing the data, but do we really trust our analysis in the end? If it's a big one, which has a surprising resolution in the end, do I really make this business decision because I trust my data? I can only trust my data if I'm working with lean processes, because I didn't digitalize the waste behind. And this makes me more comfortable in also taking business decisions later on.
There's an interesting question. How has the method changed post-COVID? Virtual Gemba, virtual value stream mapping, that's an interesting question. We still have the idea of going to Gemba. This didn't change in our method. So you can do, in a certain extent, you can prepare things. You can maybe prepare the whole project when you have a virtual plant tour, but the data acquisition and the acquisition of the Kaizens you should do really at Gemba. That didn't change.
The only digital dimension I can imagine here, and what we already did, is we went on the shop floor with smart glasses. So you're still on the shop floor, you can do your analysis here, and that would be an only option, which is still go to Gemba, but in a digital way. So there's definitely a need to go to the line.
Well, you can learn this method in our learning factory at the campus of our university in Darmstadt. We have a learning factory with a real production process. We produce a pneumatic cylinder there. And what we do also is we support the qualification of people with virtual reality. We have a virtual value stream, and you can then wear virtual glasses, and then you can learn with a didactical approach the method as you walk this virtual value stream wearing those glasses. So that's what we do. That's very interesting, but at a certain point in time you should walk the real value stream.
Which visualization tool you use from the mathing? Classically, for me, it would be MS Visio, which is very practical because you can easily drag and drop information here. But as I was talking to Professor Metternich before, typical way is doing it on paper also. Print out a big paper on the shop floor. This is what we learned from lean management, right?
Okay, so thanks for your questions. Good to discuss with you.
Thank you for being here today, Professor Metternich, and have a nice day, everybody, at our NEXEEDit Summit.